The scorching San Diego sun reflected off the blue waters of the bay as Lauren Mackenzie adjusted the cap of her naval uniform. At 32, she had dedicated more than a decade of her life to the United States Navy, quietly climbing the military ranks with unwavering determination. She wasn't one to boast about her achievements or draw attention to herself. In fact, her reserved nature had been both a blessing and a curse throughout her career. Lauren checked her reflection in the car's rearview mirror before grabbing her briefcase. It would be a long day, a surprise inspection of the USS Nimitz, the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier where she had served years ago as a junior officer. Now, she was returning as Lieutenant Commander Mackenzie, one of the youngest women to achieve such a rank in her naval engineering department. Her specialization in nuclear propulsion systems had set her on an accelerated trajectory, though few knew the extent of her accomplishment. The naval base parking lot was nearly full when she arrived. A gentle breeze from the Pacific Ocean ruffled her dark brown hair, which she kept neatly tied up in a bun beneath her cap. Lauren walked toward the main gate, her posture erect and steps determined, a reflection of her years of military training. That day, a personnel rotation was underway. New recruits were arriving to replace sailors who had completed their service time, creating a constant flow of blue and white uniforms through the various security checkpoints. Lauren noticed the unusual bustle as she approached the last checkpoint before the dock, where the imposing aircraft carrier was anchored. A young Army soldier, part of the Interforce security contingent deployed after the latest joint exercises, was checking credentials. He seemed new to the role, perhaps in his first month on assignment. Sweat trickled down his face as he meticulously examined each document with the seriousness of someone afraid of making mistakes. As Lauren approached, she noticed his name on the name tag, Sergeant Peterson. He didn't look up immediately, preoccupied with the sailor's papers in front of him. Next, Peterson called, finally raising his eyes to see Lauren. "Good morning, Sergeant," she said, extending her identification card and inspection orders. The young soldier glanced briefly at her and frowned. "Excuse me, ma'am, but this area is restricted today. Only essential ship personnel and authorized senior officers are allowed." Lauren maintained her neutral expression as she had learned over the years. As a woman in a predominantly male field, she had faced countless similar situations. "I am aware of the restrictions, Sergeant. I have authorization." The soldier barely glanced at his documents before handing them back. "I'll need some additional confirmation. We have special procedures today due to the transfer of sensitive equipment. You can wait over there." He pointed to a crowded waiting area. "While I check with my superior." Lauren took a deep breath, but maintained her composure. "Sergeant, my orders are clear. I have an inspection scheduled for 9 o'clock. It's 8:45 now. I can't be late." Something about her composed composure seemed to irritate the young soldier even more, as if he interpreted her calmness as a challenge to his authority. Peterson straightened up, his shoulders tense. "Madam, I can't make any exception. Everyone must follow protocol today." His voice had a final tone that indicated he was unwilling to compromise. A small line formed behind Lauren. She could feel the curious stares, hear the whispers. A moment of public humiliation that so many women in the armed forces knew all too well. No matter how long you served, how many decorations you accumulated, there would always be moments like this. "Sergeant Peterson," Lauren said in a low but firm voice, "I suggest you review my identification and orders again." An older sailor behind her cleared his throat, recognizing the awkward situation. The soldier, however, seemed unyielding. "Madam, please step aside to the designated area." Well, it was then that a senior naval officer who was passing by approached, immediately recognizing the situation. "Peterson, what's going on here?" "Just following enhanced security protocols, Commander Reynolds. This officer needs additional authorization too." Commander Reynolds glanced quickly at Lauren and then at his credentials, which were still in the young soldier's hand. His expression changed instantly. "Sergeant, you didn't even look at her identification, did you?" Reluctantly, Peterson finally examined the document in his hands. His eyes widened at the sight of the name, and more importantly, the lieutenant commander insignia emblazoned on the identification. But the real shock came when he saw the attached orders. They weren't just for a simple inspection. Lauren Mackenzie was there as the direct representative of the Admiral of the Pacific Fleet to conduct a full nuclear readiness assessment. The young soldier's face visibly paled. He looked from the document to her uniform, finally noticing the gold insignia on her collar that he had ignored before. "Captain Mackenzie, I apologize for the misunderstanding," he stammered, straightening up and giving an impeccable salute. "I didn't immediately recognize your rank." Lauren accepted her documents back with a slight nod. "No problem, Sergeant. Vigilance is crucial for the base's security. May I proceed now?" "Yes, ma'am." "Immediately, ma'am." The soldier stepped aside, his face still pale from the realization that he had tried to block an officer appointed by the Admiral himself. As Lauren passed by, Commander Reynolds greeted her respectfully. "Good to see you again, Captain Mackenzie. I heard about your work on the USS Gerald Ford's propulsion system." "Impressive. Thank you, Commander," Lauren replied, allowing herself a small smile. "I hope Nimitz is in as good condition as the last time I was aboard. We've been doing our best, Captain. Although I must warn you, reactors 3 and 4 showed some anomalies in last week's readings. Nothing critical, but perhaps of interest to your department." Lauren nodded, already mentally cataloging the possible causes and solutions. "I'll pay special attention to this." As Lauren walked along the gangway toward the imposing aircraft carrier, she could feel Sergeant Peterson's gaze following her. She knew the incident would be quickly forgotten, just another moment among many in his career. She wasn't vengeful. She understood that the soldier was simply trying to do his job, even if his unconscious bias had prevented him from seeing beyond her appearance. The USS Nimitz was a colossus of steel and technology, a floating city with over 6,000 people on board when fully crewed. As she climbed the access ramp, Lauren felt that familiar sense of awe. "No matter how many times I visited ships like this, the feeling of reverence never completely faded." At the top of the ramp, a group of officers awaited to receive her. Among them was Captain James Thornton, commander of the aircraft carrier. At 52 years old, Thornton was a legend in the Navy, respected by both his subordinates and his superior. "Captain Mackenzie," he greeted her with a formal salute. "Welcome aboard the Nimitz." "Thank you, Captain Thornton," Lauren replied, returning the greeting. "It's good to be back. I heard you started your career here," Thornton remarked as they walked across the deck toward the ship's superstructure. "Yes, sir. My first assignment after the Naval Academy, serving as a junior propulsion systems officer, and now she returns as one of the fleet's leading nuclear propulsion specialists. An impressive trajectory." Lauren felt a slight blush on her cheek, never entirely comfortable with direct compliment. "I was just doing my job, sir." Thornton smiled, acknowledging her modesty. "Your work has saved lives, Captain. The modifications you designed for the emergency cooling systems are being implemented across the fleet." "That's no small feat." They continued walking while Thornton updated her on the ship's recent operations. Sailors stopped and saluted as they passed, many looking curiously at Lauren. A woman who was a nuclear reactor specialist was not something they saw every day, especially one so young for her rank. When they reached the entrance to the lower levels where the nuclear reactors were located, Thornton turned to her. "I'll leave you with Commander Rodriguez, our chief engineer. He's aware of the inspection and has prepared all the reports you requested." Lauren nodded. "Thank you, Captain. I'll try to be as efficient as possible so as not to disrupt normal operations." "Take all the time you need, Captain. Nuclear safety is our top priority." Thornton paused, then added, "And Mackenzie, it's good to have someone with your level of expertise looking at our systems, especially now." There was something in his tone of voice that caught Lauren's attention. "Is there something specific I need to know, Captain?" Thornton glanced around briefly before lowering his voice. "Officially, no, but unofficially, we've had some unusual readings in the last few months. Nothing that goes beyond safety parameters, but patterns that we can't fully explain." Lauren's professional interest was immediately, "What kind of standards?" "Fluctuations in the primary refrigerant temperature. Small, within acceptable limits, but consistent. As if something were, I don't know, interfering with the normal flow of the system." Lauren frowned. "Did they check for leak, air pocket?" "We checked everything in the book. Twice. Nothing. It's as if the reactor is working perfectly, but different." "Interesting," Lauren murmured. "I'll pay close attention to that." I knew I could count on you. Thornton smiled. Oh, and Mackenzie? Don't mind the incident at the gate. I heard about it on the radio while you were on your way. Some men still have difficulty accepting women in positions of authority, especially in technical fields. I'm used to it, Cap. It's nothing I haven't faced before. Thornton shook his head. You shouldn't have to get used to it. Things are changing, but not fast enough. He glanced at his watch. I have a conference call in 5 minutes. Rodriguez should be waiting for you in the main control room. With a final salute, Thornton stepped away, leaving Lauren at the entrance to the engineering complex. She took a deep breath, mentally preparing herself for the work ahead. Incidents like the one at the gate were irritating, but they were part of her reality. What truly mattered was what she would do now: assess the safety of 2 nuclear reactors powering one of the world's largest warships. Lauren descended the stairs toward the ship's deeper levels, where the immense nuclear reactors resided in their heavily shielded chambers. As she descended, the environment around her gradually changed. The constant noise of activity on the main deck gave way to a mechanical hum of equipment, and the air grew progressively colder and drier. Upon reaching the engineering level, she was greeted by a middle-aged man with Latino features and a warm smile. Captain Mackenzie, I am Commander Miguel Rodriguez, Chief Engineer of the Nimitz. He extended his hand, which Lauren shook firmly. Commander Rodriguez, it's a pleasure to meet you. I've heard good things about your team. The pleasure is all mine, Cap. Your reputation precedes you. Your work on the secondary containment systems of the USS Roosevelt is required reading for my team. Lauren smiled, genuinely surprised. Her report on improvements to containment systems had been published just a few months earlier. I'm glad you found it useful. Rodriguez gestured for her to follow him. We've prepared everything for your inspection. My team is eager to show you the modifications we've made following your recommendations in the latest technical bulletin. As they walked through the narrow corridors, Lauren observed everything with a trained eye: the organization of the cables, the cleanliness of the monitoring station, the precision with which the technicians performed their tasks. Every detail counted when it came to nuclear safety. Captain Thornton mentioned some anomalies in reactors 3 and 4, Lauren commented as they walked past a series of monitors displaying data from the cooling systems. Rodriguez sighed. Yes, it's been a bit of a mystery to us. Allow me to show you the record. He guided her to a side room where several monitors displayed real-time graphs and data. Typing quickly, Rodriguez brought up records from the last 3 months. Look here. He pointed to a series of lines showing small oscillations. The temperature of the primary coolant in reactor has been exhibiting these periodic fluctuations. Nothing dramatic. We're talking about variations of less than 2 degrees Celsius, but consistent. Lauren examined the data carefully. And, did you check the sensors? Multiple times. We even replaced the entire unit, thinking it might be a defect in the equipment. The readings remain the same. She frowned, her analytical mind already processing possible explanations. What about the operational patterns? Any correlation with specific periods of ship activity? That was our first suspicion. We checked against power records, maneuvers, even weather patterns. Nothing matches perfectly. Lauren continued studying the graphs, noticing something subtle. These fluctuations, seemed to follow a regular pattern, almost like like a signature. Rodriguez finished. That's what we thought too. But a signature for what? She straightened up, a slight shiver running down her spine. When did it start? Following our last stop in Yokosuka, Japan, approximately 4 months ago. Lauren nodded slowly. I'd like to see the reactors in person, and I'll need to examine the complete maintenance records since that shutdown in Japan. Of course, Captain. Everything is ready for you. The next few hours were intense. Lauren delved deep into the data, visited the reactor control chambers, and spoke with the technicians responsible for daily maintenance. Every detail, every casual observation could hold the key to the mystery. It was past 4 p.m. when she finally emerged. From the main control room, her eyes tired from examining so much data and reports. Rodriguez was beside her, looking equally exhausted. Did you find anything, Captain? He asked hopefully. Lauren hesitated. Perhaps, but I need to confirm a few things first. She paused, considering her next words carefully. Commander, who had access to the primary control systems during the stop in Yokosuka. Rodriguez seemed surprised by the question. Only authorized personnel. We have detailed records. I need to see those records, and I also want to know if any new equipment was installed or brought on board during that stop. Do you suspect anything specific? Rodriguez's expression was now more serious. I'm not jumping to conclusions, Lauren replied diplomatically, but these anomalies started after that shutdown. We need to understand what changed. As they returned to the ship's upper levels for dinner in the officers' mess, Lauren remained lost in thought. The fluctuations were too subtle to be accidental, but too regular to be random equipment malfunction. There was a pattern there, a pattern someone had tried to hide among the normal variations in systems. The mess hall was full when they arrived. Officers from various departments gathered for their evening meal. Lauren felt the stares as she entered, some of curiosity, others of respect, some perhaps even of resentment. She was used to being watched. As one of the few women in her field, and certainly one of the youngest to reach her rank, she frequently attracted attention. Captain Thornton gestured for her to join him at his table, where several senior officers were already. Lauren accepted the invitation, placing her tray next to an older woman she recognized as Commander Samantha Wright, the ship's executive officer. Captain Mackenzie, Wright greeted her with a warm smile. "Have you finished terrorizing my engineers?" Lauren laughed. "They seem quite competent. In fact, I'm impressed with the level of maintenance. Rodriguez runs a tight-knit department," Thornton commented. "So, did he find anything about those anomalies?" Everyone at the table suddenly became attentive. Lauren chose her words carefully. "I'm still investigating, but there are some peculiarities that deserve a deeper analysis." "Peculiarities?" asked a burly man whom Lauren didn't recognize. His insignia identified him as Commander Nelson, Operations Officer. The fluctuations follow a very specific pattern. I'm analyzing whether this could indicate some kind of external influence. A silence fell over the table. It was Wright who finally spoke. "Are you suggesting some kind of sabotage, Captain Mackenzie?" Lauren maintained her neutral expression. "I'm just considering all the possibilities, Commander. It could be a design flaw, an unforeseen interaction between systems, or... double quote, she paused. "Something more deliberate." "It's still too early to say," Thornton frowned. "If you suspect something of that nature, we need to inform Fleet Command. With all due respect, Captain, we need more evidence before sounding any alarms. At the moment, all we have are minor anomalies that do not compromise operational safety." Nelson snorted slightly. "Perhaps we're just seeing ghosts. Complex systems like these always have little idiosyncrasies." Lauren turned her attention to him. "That's true, Commander Nelson. But when these idiosyncrasies suddenly appear after 4 years of stable operation and follow a specific mathematical pattern, they warrant a more detailed investigation." Lauren's firm tone silenced any further objection. For a few moments, only the clinking of cutlery against plates filled the air. "What will you need to continue your investigation?" Thornton finally asked. "Unrestricted access to maintenance and visitor records during the Yokosuka shutdown, and I would like to speak with all the technicians who worked on the reactor's control systems during that period." Wright and Thornton exchanged glances. "This may take some time to organize," Wright said. "Some of those technicians have already been transferred to other ships." "I understand," Lauren replied. "In the meantime, I'll continue analyzing the data we already have. Tomorrow, I'd like to run some specific tests, if possible." "Of course," Thornton agreed. "Anything you need." The conversation shifted to lighter topics as the meal continued, but Lauren remained partially distracted, her mind still working through the puzzle. The pieces were there, she could feel them, but they didn't quite fit together yet. After dinner, Lauren was escorted to the visitors' quarters that had been prepared for her. It was a small room with a single bed, a desk, and a wardrobe luxurious by naval standards. She thanked the young ensign who had guided her and closed the door, finally alone with her thoughts. Sitting down at her desk, she opened her laptop and began reviewing the day's notes. The temperature fluctuations had a pattern that's almost coded. as if someone were using the cooling system itself to transmit information. Lauren worked late into the night, analyzing data and performing calculations. Around 2 a.m., she finally found something. When plotted on a specific algorithm, the fluctuation paths formed what appeared to be a coded sequence. It wasn't something any ordinary technician would notice during routine checks. It required specialized knowledge and dedicated analysis to detect. Exhausted, but with her mind still racing, Lauren finally lay down. Tomorrow would be a crucial day. If her suspicions were correct, the USS Nimitz might be carrying much more than its crew and fighter jets. It could be inadvertently transmitting sensitive data to someone. Morning arrived far too quickly. Lauren awoke to the sounds of the ship's morning routine beginning. Footsteps in the hallway, announcements over the loudspeaker system, the constant hum of a warship in operation. She quickly got ready and after a swift breakfast in the mess hall, met with Commander Rodriguez again. "Good morning, Captain. I hope you rested well," he greeted her, though his worried look suggested he doubted it. "Enough," Lauren replied with a small smile. "I have a new theory I'd like to test today." Rodriguez nodded. "My team is at your disposal. Captain Thornton also asked me to inform you that the records you requested will be available by noon." "Excellent. I'd like to start immediately." The next few hours were intense. Lauren conducted a series of specific tests, measuring the system's responses to different commands, observing patterns that most technicians would consider insignificant. Rodriguez watched with growing interest, clearly impressed by her systematic methodology. Around noon, Lauren had confirmed her initial theory. Someone had installed a sophisticated device that used the normal fluctuations of the cooling system to encode and transmit information. The device was so well integrated that it appeared to be part of the original system. Only extremely trained eyes familiar with the specific design could tell the difference. "It's unbelievable," Rodriguez murmured as Lauren explained her discovery. "Whoever did this knew our systems intimately." "Exactly," Lauren agreed. "It wasn't amateur work. We need to find this device and remove it. But first we have to understand what it's transmitting and to whom." At that moment, a young lieutenant approached carrying a briefcase. "Captain Mackenzie? The records you requested." Lauren thanked her and immediately began reviewing the documents. The list of personnel who had worked on the systems during the stopover in Yokosuka was extensive. Dozens of Navy technicians, in addition to several civilian contractors for specialized maintenance. One name in particular caught his attention: Dr. Thomas Chun, a civilian specialist in advanced control systems. According to the record, he had received special authorization to perform an optimization diagnosis on the control systems of reactor, through precisely the reactor exhibiting the most significant anomaly. "Do you know this man?" Lauren asked, showing Rodriguez the name. The commander frowned vaguely. "He came highly recommended by the Naval Systems Command, supposedly one of the leading experts in optimizing nuclear cooling systems." "We need to find out more about him," Lauren said, her professional instincts on high alert, "and we need to pinpoint exactly where this device is installed." With the help of Rodriguez and a small team of trusted technicians, Lauren spent the next few hours meticulously mapping the system, searching for any component that shouldn't be there. The search was complicated by the complex nature of the systems and the fact that any modifications had been made to blend in seamlessly. It was almost at the end of the day when one of the younger coaches, a woman named Torres, caught Lauren's attention. "Captain, I think I found something strange here." Lauren approached the panel where Torres was working. It was a section of the temperature monitoring, seemingly normal at first glance. "What did you notice, Torres?" "Well, this interface module. The circuit board looks identical to the others, but ... double quotes." She hesitated. "But," Lauren encouraged, "the serial number is wrong. All the original modules follow a specific This one here, ... She pointed to a small code engraved on the side. "Doesn't follow the same pattern." Lauren examined the component carefully. To a casual observer, it would be impossible to distinguish it from the original equipment. But Torres was right. The serial number was slightly off the expected range. "Excellent work," Torres praised Lauren, genuinely impressed. "Can we remove this module without compromising the system's operation?" Rodriguez, who had joined them, nodded after a brief consideration. "Yes, the system has Sufficient redundancy. We can isolate this section temporarily for inspection. Then let's do it, Lauren decided. But very carefully. I want to preserve the device intact for analysis. With meticulous precision, the team isolated the module and removed it from the system. At first glance, it looked like a standard piece of monitoring equipment. But when Lauren examined it more closely under a magnifying glass, she could see the subtle modifications. Additional micro-components integrated, almost invisibly into the original board, designed to intercept and manipulate temperature data before it was recorded. That is, double. Rodriguez seemed speechless. Sophisticated espionage, Lauren added, designed to collect and transmit information about the workings of the nuclear reactor, potentially to an external entity. Rodriguez's face paled. We need to inform Captain Thornton immediately. Lauren nodded, but her mind was already moving on to the next critical question. And we need to find out exactly who Dr. Thomas Chun is. News of the discovery spread rapidly among senior officers. An emergency meeting was convened in the ship's war room, with access restricted only to officers with the highest level of security clearance. Lauren presented her findings with clinical precision, explaining how the device had been designed to camouflage itself within existing systems. In essence, she concluded, this device was collecting data on the nuclear reactor's performance and encoding it into small temperature fluctuations that would be recorded as part of normal operation. These fluctuations, when decoded, would reveal detailed information about our nuclear propulsion technology. A heavy silence fell over the room. It was Captain Thornton who finally spoke. And what about this Dr. Chun? Do we have any information about him? Commander Wright, who had been tasked with investigating the man, replied, we checked with Naval Systems Command. Dr. Chun did indeed work as a consultant for them, but his contract ended 8 months ago. The authorization he presented to work on the Nimitz appeared legitimate, but we are now discovering that it was forged in an extremely sophisticated manner. Where is he now? Lauren asked. Missing, Wright replied grimly. His last known address in Seattle has been empty for months. We're cooperating with the FBI and Naval Intelligence to track him down, but so far, nothing. Thornton tapped lightly on the table with his fingers, his face a mask of controlled concern. The question is, how much information has this device managed to transmit, and to whom? Lauren took a deep breath before replying. Based on the length of time it was operational and the pattern of fluctuation, I estimate that significant information about the reactor's design and operation was compromised. As for the recipient, double quotes, she hesitated. We would need to analyze the device more thoroughly to determine how it transmitted the data. This will be done by counterintelligence experts, Thornton said. The device will be transferred to a secure laboratory as soon as we dock in San Diego. When will that be? Lauren asked. We were scheduled to continue our operations in the Pacific for another 2, but given the circumstances, I received orders to return immediately. Lauren nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. The compromise of information about naval nuclear technology was a matter of national security, of the highest order. The meeting continued for another hour, discussing implications and next steps. At the end, Thornton addressed Lauren directly. Captain Mackenzie, I must thank you personally. If it weren't for your expertise and attention to detail, this device might have continued operating indefinitely. Lauren felt the weight of everyone's stare. I was just doing my job, sir, and he did it exceptionally well, Wright added. Admiral Thompson specifically requested that you remain on board during the return to San Diego and participate in the initial briefing with the counterintelligence. Certainly, Lauren agreed. I'll do whatever is necessary. When the meeting ended, Lauren found herself alone with her thoughts once more. What had begun as a routine inspection had turned into something much bigger, potentially one of the most significant naval espionage cases in recent years. And she was now at the center of it all. That night, as the Nimitz changed course toward San Diego, Lauren remained on deck for a long time, observing the stars and the vast, dark ocean. The sea breeze ruffled a few strands of her hair as she reflected on the day's events. It was ironic, she thought, how the incident at the gate now seemed so insignificant. That moment when the young soldier had judged her by her appearance, unable to see beyond her gender to recognize her rank and authority, was just a small reminder of the challenges women like her face daily. However, it was her unique perspective, her meticulous attention to detail, her distinctive approach to problem solving, perhaps even her experience of having to work harder to prove her worth, that had allowed her to see what others had missed. The sound of approaching footsteps pulled her from her thoughts. It was Rodriguez, looking tired but relieved. "I thought I'd find you here," he said, joining her on the railing. "Can't you sleep?" Lauren smiled slightly. "My mind is too active to sleep right now." "Understandable." They were silent for a moment, watching the waves. "You know," Rodriguez continued, "I've worked with nuclear reactors for 20 years. How could I not have noticed these anomalies for what they really were?" "Because they were designed to look insignificant," Lauren replied gently. "And because we all develop blind spots over time. Sometimes we need new eyes to see what's right in front of us." Rodriguez nodded thoughtfully. "I suppose so. Still, it's a humbling reminder. Look on the bright side. Your ship isn't going to explode," Lauren joked, trying to lighten the mood. Rodriguez laughed, a genuine sound that broke the tension. "There's always that, yeah." They continued talking for a while, discussing theories about who might be behind the espionage operation and how the device had been installed so perfectly. Eventually, fatigue began to take its toll, and they said goodbye, each returning to their respective quarters. The following morning, Lauren was summoned to a secure video conference with Admiral Thompson and several naval intelligence officers. She repeated her explanation of how she had discovered the device, answering numerous technical questions with precision and clarity. "Impressive work, Captain Mackenzie," the Admiral said when she finished. "The Department of Defense is taking this incident with utmost seriousness. When you return to San Diego, you will be briefly assigned to work with the Naval Counterintelligence Team." "Understood, sir," Lauren replied, happy to help in any way possible. The next 2 days were occupied with further analysis and the preparation of detailed reports. Lauren worked closely with Rodriguez and his team, verifying that there were no other hidden devices in other critical systems. Finally, on the morning of the third day, quote, a USS Nimitz entered the port of San Diego. A team of counterintelligence agents was already waiting on the dock, ready to take custody of the device and begin a full investigation. As the ship docked, Lauren stood on deck, watching the familiar San Diego landscape approach. She felt a strange mix of pride, weariness, and anticipation for what was to come. A peripheral movement caught her attention. It was Sergeant Peterson, the young soldier who had tried to stop her from boarding days before. He spotted her, and after a moment's hesitation, approached and gave an impeccable salute. "Captain Mackenzie," he said formally, "I would like to apologize again for the misunderstanding at the gate. Double quotes. He paused, visibly uncomfortable, made an error in judgment. Lauren returned the salute. "It's all right, Sergeant. Consider the matter closed." Peterson seemed to want to say more, but only not. "Thank you, ma'am. And well, the whole ship is talking about what you discovered. It was truly impressive." A small smile touched Lauren's lips. "I just did my job, Sergeant, like all of us." As Peterson walked away, Lauren turned her gaze to the approaching harbor. She knew the next few days would be intense. Debriefings, investigations, attempts to track down Dr. Chun and his possible collaborators. Her name would be in high-level reports, her work scrutinized by senior officials and intelligence experts. But at this moment, watching the morning sun reflect on the waters of San Diego Bay, she allowed herself a small wave of satisfaction. No matter how many Sergeants Peterson she encountered throughout her career, moments like this, when her knowledge, dedication, and unique perspective made a real difference, made it all worthwhile. The USS Nimitz finally docked, and Lauren gathered her things, preparing to disembark. As she stepped down the ramp, she saw a team of Naval Intelligence officers waiting for her. A new chapter was beginning, and Lauren Mackenzie was ready to face it with the same determination and competence that had brought her this far. As she walked toward the group, she briefly reflected on how it had all begun. Sia as a soldier, they had seen only a woman, not a highly qualified naval officer. Now, everyone saw much more. They saw Lieutenant Commander Lauren Mackenzie, the officer who had discovered one of the most sophisticated espionage devices ever planted on an American warship. And that, she thought with a discreet smile, made all the difference.